Hi, in this lesson, we'll talk about how to use error messages to debug code. When it comes to error messages, it's first important to know the different types of errors. The first type of error is a syntax error, which is typically an error that deals with punctuation. When you have a syntax error, your program won't even start running. The second type of error is a runtime error. With this type of error, your program will start to run, but will crash while it's running. Here, the program starts to run as Tracy draws a square, but then it crashes in the middle. And the last type of error is a logic error. This type of error occurs when your program runs just fine. It just doesn't do what you intended it to do. This is when you end up with some very interesting and unique Tracy designs. Syntax and runtime errors will usually give a message when there is a crash. These error messages can be very helpful, and we can get a lot of useful information out of them. However, they can also be a little cryptic. Let's take a look at 3 common error messages you'll get while programming in Python. The name error message says that some name is not defined. This usually refers to when a variable or function is defined incorrectly or not even defined at all. A parse error typically occurs when there is a syntax error. Perhaps you're missing a colon or parentheses or didn't define a loop correctly. And a type error will occur when you call a function that takes in parameters, but you don't pass in any arguments. Let's take a closer look at these error messages in the editor. Here we are in the editor. Here we have a buggy program that's supposed to draw a colorful caterpillar based on colors input by the user. Let's see what happens when we press run. All right, so we're already getting some error messages. So we have a parse error, bad input on line 7. So it's really helpful that we know exactly what line to look at. So when we look at line 7, so here we're writing a for loop, but something is wrong. So for in range 4. Take a second to see if you can find the error. Something that we can also always do is use the docs tab. So we know we're looking at for loops, so I can go to the loops and it says that to create a for loop to repeat this code, I can say for I in range 4. So what is the difference between my for loop here in the for loop in the docs tab? We can see that I'm missing my I, right? So I need to say for I in range 4. Okay, now let's press run and see what happens. Cool, that works and my program's running. So let's say we want our first color to be yellow. Another error message. So here we have a name error. Name draw body is not defined on line 10. So we're given the line 10 here. So I'm calling this function draw body, and I already defined that. Take a minute to see if you can find the bug. So when I define the draw body function, I name it draw underscore body, but when I call it, I don't have that underscore. So I just need to add the underscore, and I should be good to go. The CodeHS editor has a helpful tool when it comes to debugging name errors. Notice how when I highlight the draw body in line 10, there's a little box that appears on line 3. This shows that these are written exactly the same way. Now, when I delete that underscore in line 10, we'll see that when I highlight draw body here, the draw body in line 3 is no longer boxed in. That shows that there's some sort of difference between the two and that they're named differently. And so when I add in the underscore again, we can see that they are the same by the box that appears in line 3. Okay, so let's see what happens when we run now. Great. Another error, but a different one. Okay, so our draw body is right, except it looks like it takes in one argument and we don't have any arguments here. So when we want Tracy to draw the body, in our function definition, we're using the user color as a parameter. So we need to be inputting or passing in a user color. And it looks like in our for loop, we're getting that here where the user is saying what color choice that they want. So let's add the color choice variable as a parameter for our draw body function. Okay, so we've done a lot of debugging here. Let's see what happens when we run our program now. Great, my program hasn't crashed yet. Let's keep going. All right, so I'm getting really close. My program ran I didn't have any runtime or syntax errors, but I do have a logic error. My circles are overlapping and I don't want that to happen. And so I think this has to do with how far Tracy is moving forward. So I'm going to take a look and zoom in on line 13. Take a second to see if you can find the error here. Yeah, so what I want to happen is I want Tracy to move forward one radius and then another radius so that when she draws the second circle, it doesn't overlap. So I need to multiply this radius by 2. Okay, now let's run it one more time. All right, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And so when it comes to debugging, using those error messages is really, really helpful in helping you pinpoint exactly what's wrong with your program. Now it's your turn to practice using error messages when debugging code.